kind of like go to my grave with this because, in my perspective, it's like, what's the point? Who would believe me? What good would it do? I don't have proof. I'm not going to file anything. Like, me coming here and saying all this, if you've seen the posts about the assault suit or the misconduct, anything like that, like, and if you see the things about like, oh, she's lying, I'm here to say she's not. She's not.
Niykee Heaton, a one-time acoustic YouTube darling, burst onto the scene with a guitar and some seriously sultry vibes, covering hip-hop hits while giving them an almost folksy twist. She quickly amassed a loyal fan base and earned a reputation as the model singer hybrid who could strum a guitar and make you question your life choices. All was smooth sailing in Heatonville until she started peeling back the layers of her music industry experiences and trust.
Every single thing that she said in that lawsuit is 100% true. And I know that because not only have I seen all the evidence firsthand, but I was actually there for one of these situations. So I was 19, and if you know anything about me, I, went viral at 18 on WorldStar and then on YouTube and like kind of rose to fame really quickly, and I was doing rap covers, so a lot of rappers were reaching out to me and asking to work. And all of a sudden, I got a call one day and it's like, hey, like, Kanye wants you to come to the studio.
Now, if you're wondering what the heck P. Diddy, Sean Combs, and Kanye West have to do with Nike's story, well, let's just say things allegedly got real murky behind the velvet ropes of the entertainment world. According to Heaton, her rise to fame wasn't exactly a Cinderella story. It seems that some of the music industry's big shots, Diddy and Kanye, might have taken a rather unprofessional interest in her.
And we were just like, what? Like, Kanye knows who I am? Like, what? This is crazy. So we go. Every time we would go to the studio with him, it was like, yeah, he wanted to work on music, but there was something just like fucking weird about it. Back to me being 19 years old, this was probably the last time that we went to the studio. We got a call. It was late. We were living in LA. And we get a call and it's like, hey, like, yeah, he wants you to come to the studio. And we're like, cool. Like, why? And he's like, he wants to work on music. And we're like, that's great. And so we go, and it's like somewhere in LA, some studio we've never been to before, and we show up and walk in. We're there to work on music, right? Like, that's why I'm here. And we walk in and it's Kanye and it's Diddy.
Heaton has hinted quite coyly, I might add, about experiences where powerful men in the industry made inappropriate advances toward her. She hasn't exactly penned a tell-all memoir yet, but in various social media posts and interviews, she's alluded to the notion that Diddy, Kanye, and others weren't all about helping her fine-tune her vocals or drop beats. Nope. Instead, they seem more interested in dropping into her personal space, if you catch my drift. Here's where the sarcasm kicks in. It's almost as if being a young, talented, attractive woman in the music industry automatically grants you backstage passes to a never-ending ego parade of predatory male behavior. Shocking, right? Who would have guessed that industry titans might be more concerned with their power plays and personal agendas than, say, supporting emerging talent?
And, a couple of people that we know, men. And we walk in and there's all these ladies there wearing their club gear, and Kanye and Diddy are already like out of their fucking mind, just like completely fucked up, drunk, but probably something else. And we're like, okay, but like we were invited as artists, like maybe these girls are gonna leave and we're gonna work on music, like let's just walk in and just, yeah. Immediately I felt like there was something weird, because there's always drinks, there's always the vodka and the mixers just like sitting on the table, but we walk in and immediately, and Diddy hands me a drink, Kanye hands Lauren a drink, and we're like, that's weird. Why are they serving us? And I don't like to drink. Like, I don't like alcohol. I don't like the way that it like makes me feel. It makes me feel sick. So, but my manager, since the beginning, she was just like, I know you don't like to drink, but if someone famous hands you something to drink, even if you don't want it, just like hold it and like pretend, because you don't want to seem rude. And I was like, okay. And it was like a vodka cranberry, and I was like, oh, gross. And so I'm just standing there with my back against the console, just like pretending to sip this drink. My manager was sitting across on this couch with Kanye's cousin, and then the other girls were sitting next to her. And immediately I was like, there's something fucking wrong. Like, I couldn't explain it. I didn't know what to do. But I just like felt that there was something not right.
In particular, Heaton made it clear that she felt objectified and that there were moments where these interactions went beyond the boundaries of professionalism. While she's been somewhat reserved about naming too many specifics, her implications about Diddy and Kanye suggest that these two might have been a bit too familiar with the casting couch approach, allegedly, of course.
But I didn't fucking know what to do. I was 19 years old, like just left home a year ago, new in the industry. Yeah, I didn't know what to do, but I knew that there was something wrong, basically. And I was standing there pretending to sip this drink, and my manager was sitting across from me. I noticed as I was standing there, just kind of just like wondering what's going on, Diddy kept looking at me, and Kanye kept looking at Lauren, and like they were exchanging glances, and I'm like, they're like watching me strangely. And I'm like, okay, let me pretend to drink, and like I'm not actually doing it. And like that seemed to like make them happy, like me like pretending to like join in. And immediately I'm like, there's something fucking in this drink. There's something in this drink. And I didn't know what to do.
But hey, what's a little inappropriate behavior in the land of mega millionaires who believe they own the universe, right? The sad part? Nikee's experiences aren't unique. Many young female artists have similar stories about older, wealthier men using their power to manipulate and intimidate. What makes Heaton's situation a bit different is that she's been vocal about it, even though the media hasn't exactly turned her allegations into front-page news. Maybe that's because Diddy and Kanye are kind of a big deal, and we all know how that goes. The bigger the star, the more quirky their behavior is perceived until someone really spills the beans.
And I, like, my manager was like across the room, but like close enough, but like not next to me, so I couldn't like whisper to her. But I wanted to tell her, I'm like, hey, don't fucking drink this. There's something wrong with this. But I couldn't. So I reach for my phone and I start to type, and Kanye takes the phone out of my hands and he's like, who are you texting? Like, you don't need to text anyone. Like, we're having a party. And I was like, okay. And he like puts it on one of the speakers. And I'm like, now what do I do? Like, I don't know what to do. And I see my manager take a sip, and I'm like, and then I see her take another sip, 2 sips out of this little vodka cranberry cup, and I'm like, oh, what do I do? 2 sips, and I watch her face flush, and all of a sudden, like I look over and she's speaking really loud and like making jokes, and I'm like, whoa, like this isn't her. Like she doesn't make jokes. She's fucking terrified of people. Like she doesn't even talk. And I was like, it's already hitting her. Like 100%. I just knew that the drinks were all laced with something. And she starts like almost being like belligerent a little bit, but not in like a crazy way, just like really enjoying herself. And I'm like, that's not her. That's not her. She doesn't even want to be here. Like this is weird. And all of a sudden she like dismisses the studio host. Like she's like, you can leave. And I'm like, oh my god, like what's going on? And the girls file out. They go to like a different studio, or they go somewhere. And I'm like, I have to do something. I have to do something. What do I do? And I go to get my phone where Kanye put it on one of the speakers. And as I'm going to get it, I turn and my manager's walking out. And I'm like, no. Like where are you going? And she's like, it's fine, I'm just going to the bathroom. And I was like, no, stay. And she's like, it's right there. I'm just going to go to the bathroom. And I was like, okay. And she walks out. And all of a sudden, I realize that I'm in this studio. The music's low, the lights are dim, but you can still like see everything. And I realize that I'm in the studio with Diddy and Kanye, and they're both off their shit. And there's 3 other men, an executive that works with Kanye, his engineer, and his cousin, and me. And I haven't started freaking out yet. Like, I know what the situation is. I know, I know this is a bad place to be in, but I don't really feel scared yet, you know? Like, because I'm like, there's other people around. There's other men around, and I know them. Like, I've known them for a while. Like, nothing bad's gonna happen. And I realize all of a sudden that Kanye and Diddy have realized that I'm the only girl in the room. And they start coming towards me, and they're like, don't you want to take your clothes off? Like, it's so hot in here. And I'm like, no, fine. I'm fine like this. And they're like, come on, like, it's just us. Like, we're all just friends. Like, let us just, like, see, like, how you look.
So the next time you see Diddy and Kanye smiling on a red carpet, remember those grins may not just be about their latest hit records. For some, it seems, the real sport isn't just making music, but seeing who can get away with what.
And I'm like, okay, I'm fine. And like, I still haven't gotten scared yet, you know? Like, I'm still like, this is a bad situation. I'm creeped out, but like, there's no reason to panic. There's other men here. So they start trying, like, they're like pawing at me. Like, they're both drunk, probably on something else. And I start to get a little bit apprehensive because I'm pretty much like backed up against the wall. Like, there's only one exit, and I'm pressed up against this door. And I'm still not completely terrified yet, but I'm like, you guys stop, like stop. And they're getting to the point where they have like ripped my shirt off. And like I'm like almost fully exposed at this point. And they're both coming at me. And I'm like, you guys, like seriously, this isn't funny anymore. And I look to my left where his executive is. Like, we know him pretty well. Like we've been around him a lot. He's literally 3 feet away from me. Like, if I reached and he reached too, like we could touch, like he's that close. And I look and I'm like, hey, like I give that look where I'm just like, come on, like step in, like this isn't cool. Like, you're a grown man, like you're like 50 years old. I know you have a family, like, you know, this isn't right. Like, do something. And this is the part that for as long as I live, I will never forget. It isn't actually the aspect of being sexually assaulted. That's not what haunts me. It's this. It's as these 2 grown men were pawing at me, trying to take my clothes off. I look over to this man asking for help, and I literally mouth the word help. And we lock eyes. And he looks away. I'm like, okay, there's still 2 more men in the room. And I look to his engineer next, who's sitting right next to him. And I know that he's married and he just had a little baby girl. And I'm like, okay, he's gonna do something. And I look at him next and I'm like, okay, like do something, say something, do anything. And he looks down at his phone and starts texting. And then I was like, oh. I look at Kanye's cousin next. And I'm like, do something, you know, like fucking do something. And he spins his chair around. And that's when that like gut-wrenching fear set in. And I was like, oh shit. No one's fucking saving me tonight. No one's gonna do anything. No one's gonna do fucking anything. And that's when I was truly fucking scared. At this point, they had ripped my shirt off, and they were trying to get my pants off. And I realized that I was completely alone. And I closed my eyes for a second. And I was like, God help me. My eyes were closed and I prayed. And I said, God help me, what do I do? And it was like clear as day. I heard this in my head. And it didn't make any sense. I heard, go towards them. And then all of a sudden it clicked. My back was up against the glass wall. I could not go any further back. That was the only exit. He said, go towards them. They were already drunk off their shit. They were up. So I lunged forward. I stepped forward. And it like threw them off balance. Like they were like, oh, you know, and like they stepped back at least 1.5 feet. And the moment that they did, I reached behind my back, I pulled the door and I slipped out, grabbing my clothes. And I ran across the hall, across this corridor, and I hid inside of an empty studio that was black. And I sat there for like 25 minutes, just like crying, like, what the do I do? And I'm texting my manager and she's not answering. And eventually, I don't think I'm supposed to say this next part because it could hurt her case, but basically, everything she said is true, basically. Because what I saw next, I saw it. I was the only one who wasn't drugged. I was the only one who didn't drink their drinks, whatever it is. I was the only one. So I saw what happened next and who was involved. And that's why I'm a part of this lawsuit and like named in it. And yeah, it just that. I mean, I got us both out, and I got us in an Uber, and she obviously didn't remember anything because she was drugged and I wasn't. And apart from the aspect of, you know, looking for help and they turned away, the only other thing that really, really fucks with me is, what about all those other girls that were there? Those 9 other girls who were drinking the drinks before we even got there. Like, I know none of them got out. I know none of them got saved that night. And I'm like, did they even fucking remember? Did they even know what happened to them? And I'm here to warn you guys that more people are going to come forward. So believe her when she's talking right now.